Hi, this is Steve. Welcome back to my channel, Scale Model Kit Review. This month I bring you another installment of the build the Volkswagen T1 Samba bus from DeAgostini Collectibles. If you haven't done so already, head over there and subscribe to this bus today. It's fantastic. If you're a Volkswagen lover, you'll want to have this car. Now, I received 5 more stages this month, and I'll start working on the front suspension and the left cargo door. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome back. This is another installment of the build the Volkswagen T1 from DeAgostini Collectibles. I received pack 16 the other day, and it contains 5 more stages, stage 73 through stage 77. So for stage 73, let's look at the magazine here just real quick. We'll flip through it. Wonderful articles here. Lots of great photography, color and black and white. 13 to 12 pages front to back. Semi-gloss pages. Lots of research was done here by DeAgostini Collectibles, and you can see there's a great history on the Volkswagen bus. And they give you step-by-step instructions. They also give you assembly diagram, which is the only magazine I've seen so far to give this. That's fantastic there. And then step-by-step instructions, like we said. And that's what that magazine looks like. Let's go ahead and look at the parts here just real quick. Stage 73, I received the electronics and speaker, but I'll start assembling the front suspension with 73. Stage 74, I'll start installing the electronics, and we receive the parts for the left front door. Stage 75, received more parts for the left front door. Stage 76, more parts for the left front door. And finally, stage 77, more parts for the left front door. Let's go ahead and get started on stage 73. Let's look at the build instructions for stage 73. Stage 73, I start assembling the electrical system and installing the front suspension. Here's all the parts listed. Here's the assembly diagram. And right away we start working on the front suspension from the parts we had left over. Put that front axle tubes inside. Steering mechanism, getting everything secured there with the steering mechanism, putting on the steering dampener shafts, hooking up the steering arm, continuing with that, and that completes it. Let me get the parts and I will be right back. Here's the parts for stage 73. I'll take these out, we'll get a closer look. Here's a close-up of those parts. Here's the battery box, which is plastic, speaker and circuit board. Parts of the steering shaft. It looks like one of the horn. All plastic here. Some mount brackets for the wires. And the switch, on and off switch, BDO3, BPO3, BPO4, and BDO4. And these are all the parts and screws that we had left over from pack 15. And of course the whole front end was built. We're going to install that here in a second. All the steering components here, the rods, steering mechanism, the damper, and the screws we had left over were the BDO3, BDO7, and BPO5. Let's get started. Okay, so what I did is I brought the chassis over, I turned it upside down. We're going to mount the front suspension onto this. Here's the front suspension that we completed in pack 15, and if you look here, you can see we have some mounting points here that are going to go right here and right there. So we're just going to put this down. So I'm going to turn this over. And these are the chrome screws, BPO5. And the last one. Here we go. That's tight. Turn this back over. And there's our front end installed. Looks great. Now we're going to put our steering mechanism into this. And here's the gear for the steering. That's going to go lay down right here on this bracket. I'm going to feed it through the front end. And it should be able to move back and forth, which it is. I lubricated the hole for this because we're going to put a screw into it. And we'll put this plate on here to lock it down. And we're going to put a BPO6 screw into that. It's a flange screw. Screw that down. And there we go. That looks good there. Go to the next step. And next I'll put in the steering dampener rod, and you want to make sure that this beveled edge is facing down because it fits flush. So we're going to put this into the steering dampener shaft, bring it over, and hook it up to the steering. BDO3 screw goes into that. That's good there. Now we're going to hook up our tie rod ends, and we're going to start with the first one here that has a couple of adjustments on it, little adjustment brackets. We're going to put the large end over up against the tire and the small one on the steering mechanism. Just like that. Once again, BDO3 goes into this. That's good there. Next I put a BDO7 over here on the end. It's a flange screw. That's good there. And you can see how all that moves. Now we'll put in the other tie rod onto the other side. Same thing, want to make sure this fits flush mount up against the steering, and it's going to go just like that. BDO3 goes into that. That's good there. It moves. And lastly, the BDO7 goes on the other side here. And that moves. Perfect. That's great so far. That looks good. And that's all I do with stage 73. Let's head over and start on stage 74. Let's look at the build instructions for stage 74. Stage 74, I start assembling the electrical system and get the parts for the side door. There's the part there. There's the assembly diagram for the electrical system. And we install the speaker first. And we put in a lot of wire tie downs with that. And we'll continue to run the wiring around the side and put some tie downs in place. Put some screws in place for those tie downs. And that's what it should look like. Let me get the parts and I'll be right back. Here's Here's parts pack for stage 74. I'll take this out and get a closer look. And here's the side door. It's the left door to be precise. We don't do anything with the door. We're going to start working on the electronics. So let me get the parts for the electronics and we'll get started. Bring over the interior and we'll turn that over just like that. And we're going to go ahead and put our speaker in right here. Go ahead and bring the speaker over. We're just going to put that in the slot like that. Put the mounting bracket on top of it to hold it down. 2 BPO3 screws go into this. That's good there. That's not going anywhere. We're going to go ahead and take our wiring and we're going to run it through this channel here. And these little wire clips get pressed on. And the next one, these are the smallest clips they have. Then we're going to run our wire up to here. There we go. Just like that. Next, I'm going to go ahead and run these wires. And they're going to run right there. That's good there. Then we're going to run them over here. Perfect. I like how those clips work, how they look. Looks great. And that's all I do with stage 74. Looks great. Let's head over and do stage 75. Let's look at the build instructions for stage 75. Stage 75, I assemble elements of the side door and assemble again the electrical system, part 2. Here's the parts for the door. Here's the assembly diagram for assembling the electrical system, part 2. And we're working on the battery box here, getting the switch installed on that. We're going to put the battery box on the chassis. Then we're going to put the circuit board on the chassis. Going to plug in a couple of wires for the circuit board, the 03 and 05 wires. You have to be careful with the polarity of those connectors. Make sure they only go in one way. Put the horn on. And we're also going to put on the steering box, the non-functioning steering box, because the steering is what it is for this model. That's what it will look like when we're done. Let me get the parts and I will be right back. Here's parts pack for 75. I'll take them out. Let's get a closer look. Here's a close-up of those parts. I want to keep these protected until we actually assemble them in the next stage. But here they are. It looks like the window frame and trim. Very nice there. It's all chrome. Some pins for the door and some hinges for the door. Metal hinges. You can just see them there. BDO 8 and BPO 9 screws. Alright, here's the battery box. We're going to go ahead and put this on and off switch into the battery box. Here's the on and off switch. So we want to feed the wire through that all the way through. And we want to press fit that into place here. And we'll take the battery box, we're going to insert it onto the chassis. It goes on down on 3 points. 3 BDO3 screws go into it. First one. That's good there. I'll turn it over. And you can see how that looks there, and the switch is in place. Looks good. Now we'll put our circuit board on. Before we put the circuit board in place, we need to put this plastic protective part on here, and that's going to protect all the circuitry for the board. Here's our board. We're going to put that down on top of that. BDO4 screws go into this, 2 of them, and 2. That's how that looks there. Looks good. I'm going to put the 05 wire in first, and the little connectors are closer to this side of the wall, and you can see how that looks, how close it is on this side. So we're going to make sure it goes in one way, watching our polarity, and snap it in. There we go. That looks good there. Same thing with the 03 wire right beside it. And push it down. That's good. Now they want us to route these wires to where they're locked down up against the chassis. And I'll do that. Put this strap down here, press fit it in place. That's good there. And the next one. And the next one. Perfect. So they're both locked down like they should be. And that's how that looks there. All our wiring. Now I need to turn this over. We're going to install a couple of components. Go ahead and put our horn in, and that's going to go just like that. And our steering box also going to go on here, line up with a tab. Turn that over. We're going to put a BPO4 screw in for both. BPO4 screw. And a BPO4 screw into this one. And that's good there. And that completes stage 75. Had a blast with this stage. We did a lot here. Looks very good. All the wiring, circuit board, battery box, front end is all in there. The horn, steering box. So let's go ahead and get started on stage 76. Let's look at the build instructions for stage 76. This stage I start the initial assembly of the left side door. Here's the parts that came. Here's the assembly instructions. Got a lot going on here. And we start using some of those real tiny pins. You can see there's a little knurl end on the pin there. We're going to assemble our own hinges. And that's what that looks like there. There's 7 different phases for installing the hinge. Then we'll put the hinge on the window. Put the screws in. Then we'll put the window in the door. Then we'll go ahead and put the trim piece on. And that's it. So let me get the parts and I'll be right back. Here's the parts for stage 76. I'll take these out. We'll get a closer look. BD04 and BP09 screws. Here's the inside of the door panel, plastic. Let's get started. Alright, the first hinge I'll assemble is this one right here. It's the larger hinge of the two. So we're going to put these where they need to be, which is like this, facing up, both of them, like that. And they're going to go together like that. And we're going to go ahead and put the pin in. And if you see on the end of the pin, it is knurled. So that's going to slide in. Just like that. We'll line up the other side to it. There we go. And we'll try to slide that in all the way. There we go. And use some pliers just to make sure it's tight on there. First one done. Now I'll go ahead and put the other smaller one together. And here's a smaller hinge. You can see it's made up of 4 parts and 3 small pins. We have 7 phases that we need to do here. This is the first phase. So we'll go with the second phase. Take the pin, insert it, all the way through, and take these pliers and squeeze it together here. That's good. That's how that looks. And take this small one here, and that's going to go on there like that. Put that in. Good. Take the pliers here. That's good there. One is to put this last piece on, just like that. Squeeze that together. That's good there. And our hinge. Okay, so I have my window here. We're going to attach the hinge to it. We're going to put on the bigger hinge first, and that's this right here. And it's simply just going to lay down on top of that. BP09 screw goes into this. So I put it through it first and just got it started. Go up to the window and screw it down. One. And that's good there. That's how that looks. Next we take the next bracket, and it's going to go down like that on top of it. Alright, go ahead and put the next one in. That's good there. Now we're going to mount this to the window. Next I'm going to fit the window into the door frame, and we want to make sure the large hinge goes where this opening is here and the smaller hinge goes to the smaller opening. Now we need to feed it in from the outside, and you can see how that hinge is situated just like that. And this one also needs to go through. So we'll feed that in first, and then feed that hinge in first next. Now I can turn it over, and I can put my screws in right here to hold that hinge in place. BD08 screws go into it. One more. Make sure you lubricate this, that makes it easier. And that's tight. That looks good there. And I don't think we do anything else on this stage, but obviously that lets that window swing out. For now, we're going to put our molding in, and here's our molding. And looks like it only goes in just like that. BD09 screws go into it from the back side. That's good there. Turn it over, and that's what that chrome strip looks like. I love it. And that's all I do with stage 76. Let's head over and do the final stage for pack 16, stage 77. Let's look at the build instructions for the final stage for pack 16, and that would be stage 77. And I'll continue to work on the side door and assemble the inner panel. Here's the parts I received, and we're not going to do anything with those in this stage, but it will be with the next pack in the next stage. Here's the assembly instruction for that door. Here's all the parts involved for the door, some screws. We're going to put the inner panel on the door. Make sure the latch for the window goes through. Put in 4 screws for the door. Screw down the latch for the window. And that's what that should look like. It should open and close. And that's all I'll do. Let me get the parts and I will be right back. Here's the parts for stage 77. I'll take these out. We'll get a closer look. And here's a close-up of those parts. We have a grab handle, another component here, and a strap, and of course inner panel here made of plastic. Looks great. Let's get started. Okay, so go ahead and bring over the inner panel, and that's going to go flat down on the door. Only goes on one way, just like that. And making sure that the latch for the window push through all the way. BD04 screws go into this, 4 of them. And the last one. And that's good there. Now we'll go ahead and put the latch on. Give you a close-up. Put the latch on here. Line it up. BP09 screw. There's one. You have to be careful because the latch is attached to the magnet of the screwdriver, so you kind of have to hold the latch in place while you put the screw in. Tighten them both down. Perfect. Make sure the window opens and closes and latches. Good. Perfect. That's how that looks there. That completes stage 77. We have the door assembled there. That's fantastic. And that completes pack 16. I'll be right back. And that completes pack 16. We did a lot here. And it's hard to show it all to you at the end of the video here, but you saw all 5 stages with this build. Fantastic, and it's really starting to look the part. So if you haven't done so already, head over to DeAgostini Collectibles and subscribe to this bust today. It's fantastic. If you like my content, please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell for all video upload notifications. Smash that like button. It helps with the algorithms. Happy modeling, everybody, and take care.